A good teacher should be pretty knowledgeable in the scriptures. He doesn't have to be a master of all Buddhist scriptures, but he should have studied with a teacher who has kept his discipline and followed in that lineage. Like pretty much it comes down, in Buddhism they often say that you will turn out like your teacher, for good or bad. So if your teacher is a knowledgeable teacher, then you will become knowledgeable eventually if you have the aptitude for it. If your teacher is moral, if your teacher is moral, then you will have, that will rub off. And this I had a problem with when I first started studying Buddhism, because I thought, this is crazy talk, but I think we naturally want to emulate others. I think you see it everywhere. Like, there'll be trendsetters, and then there'll be people who, and it's the same way in religion, in every kind of organized religion. So in Buddhism, I think they really saw that, and they say, best thing, you should follow a teacher who's very moral, very knowledgeable, and loves to teach just for the sake of teaching, not out of any kind of gain. You're going to donate to his temple or whatever. Just teach people because they want to help people. That's the foundational of what a teacher should have. They also say the teacher should have realizations, but how would you know whether a teacher had a spiritual realization? So, this is my own personal shtick, is that if you don't know if a teacher has high realization, then the best thing, they should at least have their, they should have done the math. They should at least have their stuff in order. I don't claim to be that kind of great teacher, but you should, like I studied with Kensur Rinpoche, and he passed a couple years ago. And a part of me is like, well, I should go shopping for another Kempo, because a Kensur, in traditional monastic, there's monks, then you can get a Geshe degree. A Geshe degree is like a doctorate in Buddhist philosophy. And then there's abbots of monasteries. So as a monk, I'm actually kind of forced to go find another abbot, because you're not really supposed to be without an abbot until you're about 10 years as a monk. But a part of me was like, if I'm going to put my mind in another person's hands, better they be the most knowledgeable kind of teacher possible, I guess it's the equivalent of, if you really want to study the violin, you try to find and hook up with the world's greatest violinist, and if you can't find the world's greatest violinist, maybe the second world's greatest violinist, or the 10th, or whoever you can possibly hook up with. The same kind of idea. Let's see, student teacher. So renunciation. Rinpoche used to always say that where is the samsara? Samsara is in your mind, and it's an oversimplification, but the thing that you're trying to escape of the samsara is the various types of mental afflictions and the impure parts to your body and mind that fall apart. You go through this life, and you're forced to grow old, suffer and die, sadly, and you're forced to watch everybody else around you grow old, suffer and die. And some people grow old gracefully. Some people have really nice, wonderful relationships for the rest of their life, but people will be taken away from you. Everything. If you're born with any kind of intelligence, that will be stripped away from you. If you manage to keep your faculties to the point of your death, you still will die. Same thing with beauty. Any kind of position will be stripped away from you. One of the first things that attracted me to Buddhism was that for once I saw a dude, I don't know if I'm allowed to call Lord Buddha a dude, but a guy who was telling me the straight dope. There wasn't any BS. No, everything's okay. No, it's like, this is a great life. This is a great, it's like, maybe it's because I was born in New Jersey, in North New Jersey, so it's a real crappy town. Maybe I really am a negative kind of person. But that's not, although Lord Buddha was teaching about suffering and its various causes, like the first turning the wheel of the Dharma. Are you guys familiar with the turnings of the wheel of the Dharma? The first turning of the wheel of the Dharma, Lord Buddha says, that's when, after he achieved enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, actually the first person he meets doesn't believe that he got enlightened. He was a hater. So then eventually he goes back to some of the ascetics that he was practicing with, doing meditation practice, and they're like, wow, you've got like kind of like a halo and a bliss thing going on, you know, what went down with you? And they actually previously had dissed him for breaking the strict vows of ascetics, like eating a bowl of rice or something given to him by a cowherd girl. He was pushing it. So yeah, he's like, well, I've finished this life. I've achieved pratimoksha. I'm enlightened. I'm a Buddha. I'm a Bud means intelligence. He's a Buddha, a person with intelligence. Lord Buddha, often called Shakyamuni Buddha because he was from the Shakya clan, which was a clan in ancient India, and sometimes called Gautama Buddha because he's from the sage who recognized his birth. His uncle's whatever was named Gautama, and so he took the name of that sage. The sage prophesied he'd be a great king or master, depending on which way he went. And so Lord Buddha goes back to these ascetics and teaches the first turning of the wheel. And you can see it throughout classic Indian belief systems. It's not he didn't come up with something new. It was just the way to generally, so he taught the four Arya truths or the four noble truths, which you see like everywhere. Life is suffering, there are causes of the suffering. There's an end to suffering, and there's a path that you can teach it. Well, I think I sort of focused on when I first got into Buddhism, maybe it was the nihilist sort of view of me. My nihilist sort of view of everything. Oh, suffering, dude. Wow. Slayer, suffering, death, blood, horror films, sort of that sort of state of mind. But, he at the end of that, he taught that there is a way that, to get out of suffering. And that was the first turning of the wheel. And then the second turning of the wheel, Lord Buddha taught that, the first turning of the wheel, in all those teachings, he's explaining that phenomena have an essential nature. A book has an essential nature of bookness. The second turning of the wheel, Lord Buddha said, book has no essential nature. And in the third turning of the wheel, he got down to brass tacks and he said, no, I wouldn't. There was a bodhisattva that said, Paramartha Samagata said, Lord Buddha, you're contradicting yourself. First you say that phenomena have an inherent nature. Then you said phenomena don't have an inherent nature. And that the second turning of the wheel where he said that phenomena don't have an inherent nature is like the sutras, like you may have seen them, Diamond Sutra, Heart Sutra, where he's saying no eye, no ear, these radical negations. And in the third turning of the wheel, Lord Buddha breaks things down to cause phenomena, mental phenomena. And he goes, no, I wouldn't talk crazy and say all phenomena lack inherent existence. Our lineage believes that when he was teaching the second turning of the wheel that he was telling the straight dope. But some people can't handle it. I had a job at a radio station when I first got to Tucson, and I met a very devout born-again Christians, and they asked what my beliefs are, and I said, well, frankly, we don't believe in a creator deity, and you have to sort of check yourself when you say things like that to certain people, because sometimes they freak out, and some people can't live in a godless world. Like just the thought that God isn't out there taking care of them, there's some kind of God watching over them, freaks them out.